Hey guys, Levelcap here, and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news recap on everything going on in the world of video games. This week, Activision managed to do the impossible and make Warzone good again. Nintendo are doing their best to dodge those Switch 2 tariffs, and Battlefront 2 are facing a new threat. All this and more in today's episode. It looks like Call of Duty's massive Warzone overhaul is working out. The game was recently updated with the original iconic map, and along with it came a slew of gameplay changes that massively toned down the complexity of the looting system and reduced the Omni movement's presence. On top of all that, the updated version of the map is also based on its earlier design. So this time around there's no redeploy balloons, which has brought vehicle gameplay back in a much bigger way. And one of the final big changes is that most of the respawn mechanics are gone. If you get eliminated, the only way back into the match is winning in the gulag or your teammates buying you back. According to leaks, internal info about the update has been widely positive for Activision. Apparently, Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Store player numbers are off the charts compared to their recent levels, and even Black Ops 6 is seeing a bump in sales thanks to this update. Overall, it looks like this is going significantly better than anybody anticipated. That said, players who have gotten used to the faster pacing and more forgiving respawn systems are saying that the new pacing feels kind of slow and that the matches feel a little bloated. But I guess you can't please everyone. Another bright spot is that Activision is allegedly considering a more serious or realistic look for future cosmetic options. Leaks suggest that the crossover events like Gundam, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Terminator are selling like crazy, but Activision has heard the criticism that these skins make the game look absolutely absurd. Before the update went live, rumors suggested a realistic skins only option would be included. That hasn't happened yet, but it seems like there might be a chance of at least a more toned down cosmetic option in the future. Overall, it seems pretty clear that this update has helped turn things around for Warzone, but it's tough to say how long this uptick in popularity will last. Call of Duty players have gotten used to expecting big updates with tons of new content. How do the devs plan to build on this version of Warzone that's more or less stripped away a lot of what they've added over the past years? Only time will tell. Nintendo are scrambling to move the production of the Switch 2 to a different country so that they can potentially avoid tariffs levied by the US government. These tariffs have been a huge concern in most industries, but especially in electronics, and due to the uncertainty of how much the tariffs are going to be, how long they're going to last for, when they're going to increase, it's been nearly impossible for any business to plan for them. Nintendo announced the price of the Switch 2 the day that these tariffs were announced as well, which has led to a ton of concern about Nintendo having to renege on the $450 price tag, which many were already complaining might be too high. They've delayed taking pre-orders in the US and are moving production outside of China to Vietnam in an attempt to avoid future tariffs. Assuming that Nintendo can import consoles with only a 10% tariff, analysts are predicting that the Switch 2 pricing will stay the same as when it was announced. But if the tariff on Vietnamese imports raises to 46% after the 90-day period that has been imposed, we could be looking at a significant price hike on the Switch 2. And that's not even mentioning what the prices could be for the Switch 2 physical games, which Nintendo are selling for $70 to $90 depending on the edition you buy. Another alarming thought is that the majority of console imports will not happen initially and will happen over time, meaning the initial imports could be priced cheaper while future ones could be priced more, leading to a very aggressive market, probably with astronomical scalping prices. I think this is going to be a tough year for Nintendo sales and people who want to play Nintendo games, at least if you live in the United States. EA's still gorgeous-looking Star Wars Battlefront 2 is now reportedly unplayable thanks to hackers. The game has struggled with prolific hacking in the past, where cheaters will use various exploits to ruin matches like aimbots, a hack that makes everyone in the match unkillable, wall hacks, lobby crashing, anything you can think of, it's been done to Battlefront 2. And while EA eventually fixed those exploits and restored the game to working order, it seems like a new wave of hacking has completely illegally consume the game. Players are alleging that hackers can now load their exploits and run them on any active server without their account having to be logged in or even playing on any affected server. This has led to cheats and exploits becoming totally unavoidable if you're playing the game. Previously, even if there were hackers around, you could generally avoid them by switching servers. Now that doesn't seem to be possible. Hopefully, EA can step in quickly to address this situation. Path of Exile 2's latest major update has proven to be a bit of a disaster. The game's review rating went from mostly positive to mostly negative on Steam in the days since the update went live, but the devs have announced a slew of changes to address the negative feedback. Most of the complaints seem to focus on the game feeling too slow, with boss fights and other encounters taking much longer than normal to complete. The devs are rolling out patches that reduced how fast enemies can move around. They made crafting more accessible and powerful. They reworked a handful of boss fights and will continue balancing the game in response to this feedback. Extraction shooter Gray Zone Warfare is getting a major update called Winds of War that adds dynamic weather systems, 4 new guns, new ammo types, ballistic improvements, 80 new weapon parts, more optics to choose from, new armor, plus quality of life improvements like scopes being closer to the player's view. The update doesn't have a firm release date yet, but you can expect it to roll out in the coming weeks. Bungie's next big game is their first foray into the extraction shooter genre, while also being a return to one of their original and somewhat iconic franchises, Marathon. It's getting a full gameplay reveal on April 12th. But in the meantime, the studio released a new teaser trailer and also clarified some key details. The game will not require a PlayStation account on PC or Xbox. This has been an issue in the past with games like Helldivers 2 and Horizon Forbidden West. It's at least good to see that Bungie has enough pull to forego some of that PlayStation Network silliness that Sony is trying to impose on a lot of devs. Ubisoft are taking games as a service to a whole new frontier. They are currently being sued by players of their 2014 online-only racing game, The Crew. The game was shut down in 2023, leaving owners completely unable to play the game or access any of the paid DLC that they had purchased. The shutdown was announced mere months ahead of it happening, and Ubisoft is now arguing that players should have known that they weren't actually buying the game itself, just a limited license that granted them access to the game. Packaging for the game includes a disclaimer that Ubisoft could terminate connectivity within 30 days notice and that the game requires such connectivity to function. And while it seems likely that Ubisoft could very much win this case because they've more or less legally cleared themselves, it further cements the reality that buying games isn't actually owning them anymore. There's been legislative talks in certain European countries to try and prevent these type of tactics, and we'll have to see what comes of it. Baldur's Gate 3 is getting its final major update next week. It adds 12 new subclasses, a proper photo mode, plus full cross-platform progression and tons of other improvements. After this update, the devs will continue addressing major bugs and issues as they arise, but there isn't any additional content planned. The update goes live on April 15th. The reveal trailer for Frostrail went live this week, and it's actually pretty impressive looking. The game is an upcoming co-op FPS survival horror game where you explore a frozen world of, you guessed it, horrifying monsters. The goal is to scavenge supplies to upgrade your train. Yeah, you've got your own train. The game supports up to 4-player online co-op and is expected to launch next year. Obviously, there's a ton of games in this genre, but not many that let you actually drive an upgradable train around. And if that gets you in the mood for more winter survival games, then I've got the perfect video for you to watch next, my look at an early access game called Winter Survival. This is one of the more immersive survival games that I've played with a lot of extremely interactable mechanics. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like and subscribe for more content like it. I'll see you guys next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.